Just so you all know, we are going live. That is your notification. Anything you say will be recorded for history. Alrighty then, we can start moving into our agenda for today, which is here. All right, so we're calling the meeting to order at 4:33 p.m. Woohoo, we're not as late as last week. Approval of the joint session legislature meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there consent? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? Right. Well, then we can move into non-voting items. Thank you for everyone. I'd like to first of all, since we can't vote on anything, we're going to move on to communications. I would like to give a shout out to communication shout out to Speaker Holzberger from House of Representatives. He's been helping me in the last two joint sessions. He's been awesome. So thank you for all of your hard work. All right, then we can move into communications, the campus alert for robbery. Man, was that yesterday? Day before, thank you. Time flies. There was a robbery in the Valley 1 plot 57, and a WMU campus alert was sent out about it. I want you all to know that I talked to Chief Merle about this, trying to get some more information I'd like to share with all of you, and please feel free to share with the community. Chief Merlo told me that he believes that this was an isolated incident. This is the first time he's ever actually sent out a campus alert for a crime committed on campus in 2.5 years. So campus is generally safe. He also wanted me to, or not wanted me, but I'll tell you, the term strong-armed robbery does not mean that there was a weapon involved. There were no weapons involved in this robbery. This is the story as Chief Merlo told it to me. Essentially, someone was looking for a parking spot late at night. They drove through the parking lot. There were 3 guys that were standing by a car. He got out of his vehicle. 3 people approached him and said, "Hey, you almost hit us." To which the original person said, "I don't think I did." And then the 3 people responded, "What do you have on you?" He took out his wallet. They took the money out of his wallet, handed his wallet back to him, and then he went to the Old Goat Tavern, told his friends, and called the police because he had been robbed. So there was no physical altercation. There was no weapon involved. Just want to dispel any rumors about that. Talking about resources that WMU does have available to you if you are walking at night. Campus Safe Walk is still going during most nights. They are having issues finding student employees, as every department is. If that is a resource that you would like to use, please make sure to take advantage of it. Safe Ride is currently not operating due to the pandemic. Otherwise, Chief Merlo asked me to share a resource with all of you on WMU DPS's website. One of the scroll down tab links is the Raid Guardian app. The way that Chief Merlo kind of described this to me is it's similar to a safe walk, but with anybody. If you have the app, you can say, "I'm going from this point to this point. I expect it's going to take me this many minutes to get there," and you have a friend. And if you don't get there and tell your friend and check in with your friend, it notifies them that you didn't check in on time, so they can take appropriate action. This is something you can use both on and off campus, and it's completely free with your WMISH email address. So those are some of the campus resources we have. Please take advantage of them. It is something that we pay for, and it does help increase the safety of our campus. Does anybody have any questions about what I just talked about, either online or in person? I'll press that 1 second. I don't see any questions online. So hearing and seeing none, guest speakers, Mr. Terzino asked me to move me to the end of the agenda. So that is the current plan. Yeah, otherwise, Do you know how many members we have right now? Right. Well, if you're in person, please take this chance to have and go grab some pizza.
Okay.
If you're online, I apologize for the delay. We have not yet met quorum. We are 4 members short. If you know somebody that's in WSA but is not here, please text them and ask them to show up.
Already got it.
Could somebody do me a favor, log into the House meeting or the Senate meeting and tell the people to join this meeting?
Oh, are they?
Apparently, some people are in the other room.
21 members, are you saying 21 in the other room?
In the other Zoom meeting. I'm not sure if it's sent to their house. But if somebody could join, tell them to join this one. That'd be greatly appreciated.
Chase, man.
We have quorum. Wait.
Not going anywhere.
Is anyone coming to Roadhouse tonight after this? Also, everyone's invited, by the way. I'm just curious what you call it.
I know it's a problem. Maybe. I don't want to fast forward.
All right, everybody, we're going to get started. We should have quorum now. To anybody that was online and said that people are in the wrong Zoom room, thank you very much. We appreciate that feedback. That being said, we can move on to the next item in our agenda, which is the collaboration request. We have Iota Phi Beta Fraternity Incorporated. Is there a representative here today?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everybody. My name is Meyer.
1 second, Meyer, I'm gonna spotlight you for everyone. All right, Myron, so Myron, feel free to just take the floor, kind of talk about what you're requesting money for, how much you're requesting, and why you think WSA should support this event.
Okay, so the amount that I'm requesting for IOTA, which is a fraternity, I'm requesting around like $1,000 to $2,000. And basically this event is kind of like a multicultural event. It's just showcasing the talent that we have on campus as far as like dance teams, other fraternities and like singers and poets and stuff like that. I think WSA should support this event because I think it's a great cause to support to because it is highlighting all the talent on campus. And we haven't really had like a multicultural showcase in a while due to COVID and stuff like that. So I think it will be a good opportunity to kind of bring this back.
All right, thank you very much. Where did the microphone go? There it is. Does anybody have any questions for Myron, either online or in person?
Well, Myron, thank you. Hello, Myron. Thank you for giving that description request. My question to you, for collaboration, I believe you have to request a specific number. Would you be requesting $1,000 or $2,000 or somewhere in between?
Oh yeah, so on the form I did put between 1,000 and 2,000. I don't know if that like well the whole amount went on there, but I did get an email stating that it was 1,000, but I was looking to request around 1,000 to 2,000. But if like it was already put in place it is only 1,000, then that's fine.
Myron, real quick, you did write down $1,000 on the form.
Mhm.
I guess we're gonna have to stick with that for now, since that's what we wrote down.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Thank you for understanding. Are there other questions for Myron? If you are online, feel free to raise your hand or put me in the chat. Either way, you'll get my attention. Alexis has a question.
Thank you. Sorry, hopefully you can hear me okay. My question is how can we best support you with this event if and when the collaboration funding is approved? Is there an additional need for like advertising or different needs outside of just funding? Because I think that we'd love to help you however we can make this event.
Okay, yeah. So with this event, it's mainly not too much planning needs to be done besides like reaching out to organizations to come showcase their talent. But as far as like promotion, it would just be on like just getting the word out that we're having this event like on Experience WMU, maybe like the WSA, I don't know, like the Instagram page or something like that. Just like showcasing this event, basically just promotion.
Awesome, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Myron?
Hey, Myron, I'm hoping you can.
Can you hold it a little bit closer?
Hey, Myron, I'm hoping you can hear me well. I guess I'm just wondering, asking for some more details on this event. I understand it's going to be a multicultural event, but is it like a talent show? Is it like something else? Just give me some more details.
Okay, yeah. So it's basically like it kind of sort of is like a talent show. So with our fraternities in the Divine Nine, we usually have like, you know, step shows and stroll offs. So basically it would just like, you know, people would be dancing and the dance teams would be dancing. I'm looking like we have about 4 dance teams that we were looking to get to perform in the showcase. And it would basically just be a talent show, not like a competition, but just letting everybody get their time to, you know, dance to whatever song of their choice and just showcase their organization.
Thank you very much. Are there other questions? Hearing and seeing none then, Myron, I'm gonna put you on hold and we're gonna go into discussion and vote on it, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, everybody. I guess we can now move into discussion. If you have anything you'd like to bring up, either in favor of funding the event, in opposition to funding the event, this is your time to talk. If you're online, once again, raise your hand or put me in the chat. If you're in person, raise your physical hand and I will run a microphone over to you. Violet, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I realized there's a question.
Okay. Are there any other discussion points? Oh, Romeo, go ahead.
Sorry, that was an accidental misput. I got water on my hands right now.
No worries. Happy to know that you're doing well in responding though. All right, Alexis.
All right, yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that this is a really necessary event, and I'd love to see WSA fund it, especially since, when we look at our House of Representatives in particular, we don't have very many Greek life organizations, they're pretty limited, and so, any opportunity that we can use to expand and show, our Greek life partners that we're here for them just as we are for any RSO, it's a great opportunity, so that's probably where I would leave it.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? I do not see anybody. So I'm going to ask for your patience real quick as we get a Slido poll sent out to everybody.
There was like 10 people in the other room, by the way, if you want to kind of just tell them right now what just happened.
Sure. So for anybody that's just joining us online, we had a collaboration request. We just went on discussion through it. It's for a multicultural Greek event. If you have any questions, please ask now. Thank you. In order to save time, and if you are in person, please raise your hand if you're in favor of this collaboration request. And you have voting rights.
You only have voting right now.
Did I get you? I think I did. Okay. So we have 14 in person in favor. If you are online, please raise your hand. And we'll take a count that way.
Is this for if we're in favor?
Yes, if you're in favor, please raise your hand to approve this collaboration request for $1,000. 14 to 14 to 28. 32. I'm gonna give you about 5 more seconds to vote online. All right, you all can go and lower your hands now. Thank you very much. We have 33 people in favor in total. If you are in opposition of this collaboration request passing, please raise your hand in person. And online. Will there be an attendance link set up? McKenna, no, we're taking attendance just by you being in the Zoom today. We have 2 participants in opposition. So that collaboration request is approved 33-2. I'll bring him back into the meeting now before we start our slow clap. Congratulations, your funding collaboration request was approved. Congratulations.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, next up on the agenda, we have the Latino Student Alliance, and also with the collaboration request. Jessica, I see you on Zoom. If you want to tell us real quick how much money you're requesting, what it's for, and why you think WSA should support it, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Eric. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so LSA will be requesting $1,300, and the event that that we'll be joining is the International Festival. As many of you know, it is in person this semester, so the money that we'll be requesting will be used to help with the booth. So we're going to buy materials such as wood, nails, decoration for it, and then we're also going to do marketing and promotion. So some money will go to that, and then money will also go towards the fashion committee and the dance committee. So providing attire for the participants in the fashion and dance. Why WSA should support this event? I mean, it's an event that has been going on for over probably 10 years now, and it's been very successful. You know, it enriches others of everybody's culture around the world. And I think it's just a great event, a great experience that every student at Western should have. Any questions or any clarification on anything?
What is the International Festival?
So International Festival is, I believe, there's 10 RSOs that can participate. And so each RSO represents a specific country. So I believe like there's a Malaysian organization participating, the Indian Student Association. For us, LSA will be representing Mexico. So that's the country that we represent, and people have the opportunity to, you know, share a little bit of their culture through fashion, through dance, and also the booth like provides like, you know, things that represent their country. So for us, we have Dia de los Muertos, so we're gonna have an altar. Also like El Dia de la Virgen, so religion is a key thing in the Mexican culture, so we'll have an altar for that as well. But if you need more details, I can explain that too. But that's just a little bit about it.
Thank you very much. Are there other questions? Anyone online? Anyone in person? Yeah. Jessica, what is the date of International Fest?
March 27th, starts at 4 p.m., ends at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Yeah, what other, like, where else are you getting funding?
So we're waiting to hear back from like I think it's like the International Festival coordinator. So we're still waiting to hear back from funding. But for right now, like I haven't secured funding from them at the moment. I know the forms are due tomorrow. So I'm waiting to hear back. And then I'll update them if I receive funding from WSA. So I'm just waiting to hear from results from them.
Other questions? Anybody online? Hearing and seeing none, then Jessica, I'm just gonna move you into a waiting room real quick, and we're gonna go in discussion, all right? All right, does anybody have any discussion points? Go for it now.
That's okay. So what I was gonna say, my only discussion point with this, is that they have received a lot of funding from us this year for a lot of events, which is great. At least they're doing events, which some organizations aren't. But my concern is that, they maybe are asking for more money than they're requested, than they're allotted a year. I don't know. It's not over limit.
There's no limit on collaboration requests.
Okay, well, I guess my discussion would be then, in comparison to other RSOs, they are taking up a lot of money. I get they have a large student member group as well, or member numbers as well. Just a thought.
Yep. You just find the microphone.
Isn't it what the money is for to host events and stuff like that? And since they're doing it, that's a good thing. So like we should continue to fund their events because they're having them.
Are there other discussion points online or in person? Marie? Oh, Julian, if that's how I pronounce your name, I apologize if it's not, please correct me, but otherwise you have the floor.
It's fine, it's Julie. I think we have done a lot of collaborations with them, and so far they've been successful. And I know one of WSA's goals was to reach out to other RSOs and engage with other RSOs. So I feel like this would be a very good opportunity, and since it's also international festival.
Thank you. Are there other remarks? All right, thank you, Colin, so much.
Thank you. So I personally am pretty close with LSA leadership, and I know that a lot of the reasons that they're coming to the collaboration process rather than the allocation process or some other means like CAB or a different funding source is because the organizers of international fests haven't been as organized as they have been in the past. And so I don't think that we as an organization should fault LSA for coming to us as a last minute resource for that funding. And I think it's actually really important that we put money behind this and show that there is still need and desire and want for this event to take place. As Jessica shared, this event hasn't happened in its traditional sense in over 2 years. So that's a really important program to this institution. I think it's very unique to this institution. And so I think it's really imperative that we pass this collaboration funding today.
Thank you. Julie, did you have anything more to say?
Sorry, I forgot to.
No worries, thank you. Right, Chen Kid.
Yeah, I do agree with what Alex said, because I just checked like the allocations commission stuff, and technically they did not apply from the allocations commission mainly because the international festival organizers weren't organized. In fact, the Malaysian Student Association they informed me that technically they're not planning to attend IF mainly because they weren't organized and they didn't provide enough information to the RSOs. And technically just expect RSOs to produce something just to fit in, just make the event successful. So I think that we should fund LSA because usually they would approach allocations commission first. I've checked their record and everything, and they should doing well. I think we should fund them.
All right, thank you. Alexis?
I think if and when, if we do or don't pass this, maybe something we can ask Jessica is what other RSOs were invited, because if that's the case, then that they can't, because they're not getting the funding, like, we need to bring them here and show them that there are funding opportunities. I know that spring break gets in the way, but like, that breaks my heart to know that other RSOs aren't able to get involved and reach their students on campus because it was out of their control. So I don't know how everyone else feels about that, but I would personally like, if it gets approved, when Jessica's back in the room, ask her if she happens to know, and if not, like, we take an initiative on reaching those RSOs.
Perfect. Are there other comments that discussion points that would like to be made? All right, hearing and seeing none. Real quick. I think that's that one. Oh, it's off, perfect. All right, then real quick to answer any questions about attendance that might be lingering. We took your attendance when you joined the Zoom room, so you do not have a link to worry about. Also, if you are a registered representative or a member of the Senate, you should all literally within the past 5 minutes receive an email from me for Slido. If you are in favor or in opposition, please cast your vote via Slido now. Thank you. Oh no.
Just explain again really quick what this is for him, unless he said this before you explained that.
I think you said it before.
Romeo, real quick, just a reminder, Slido is how you're going to cast your vote. You should receive the link with a code and a password to join the voting platform. Once you join, you can just cast in favor or in opposition, whatever you would like. And Juan, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. No need to mark your attendance today. We took it as soon as you joined the Zoom meeting. Does anybody need more time to vote? I think that is a no. Show results. 100% of the Senate voted in favor and 95% of the House voted in favor. Therefore, this collaboration request passes. Give me 1 second to get this in the room, and then we can start that slow clap. Good. Jessica, congratulations. LSA was approved for your $1,300 worth of funding in the collaboration request process. Real quick question for you. Do you know if other RSOs were unable to get funding through other sources because of the lack of organizational say?
I'm not sure. Like, I think I really don't know. I haven't really asked other RSOs. I just know that I was just waiting to hear back because the deadline for funding is tomorrow. So if anything, you could ask the International Festival coordinator who knows all the RSOs that are participating, and maybe they could ask for you, but I really just know for LSA, and I was just looking for other forms of funding on my part.
Could you please tell us the name of the International Festival coordinator?
I believe let me look at my email actually.
Thank you. Real quick, we have a question in the back. Alexis?
Thank you, Chris.
Yep, sorry, you're good, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, could you repeat your question one more time?
During the allocation meeting last time, there was an RSO, recruiting our funding. I will extend them to. I don't know if these were.
Okay, thank you for that. Jessica, do you know, you said that LSA did not apply for allocations for this event?
I didn't apply for allocations, the reason being that I wasn't sure if I was gonna even secure funding from like International Festival as a whole. So I didn't even have like the proper, I couldn't like ask for money when I didn't know what I was gonna get, if that makes sense. Like we weren't prepared. We just started preparation for International Festival like a week ago. And obviously like allocations is a process. You have to submit a budget a week before and then deliberation. So like I couldn't go through deliberations because I didn't have any info from like International Festival.
Okay, same kid, do you know of any RSO that was denied allocations for International Fest last month?
I have another comment, I guess.
Go for it, Alexis.
Basically, what I'm gonna do, if everyone is okay with it in this room, and I think I'll do it regardless unless there's a major opposition, I would reach out to Philip and see if there's any RSOs that couldn't get funding, or because if funding was their barrier, I'd like them to still receive funding, and I'm personally willing to use my WSA budget to fund it. So I think that's what I'm doing.
I'm taking this in a second.
Oh, and, sorry to out you, Ophelia, but CSA just said that they'd be willing to help us as well.
If you're online and do not hear that, the Graduate Student Association has also said they'd be willing to help fund the RSOs for International Festival. Thank you, Ophelia.
Can I get back?
Yep,
After you guys leave?
sure. All right, then we will move on. We do have a bill next on the agenda. If I can share my screen. Yes, the Ukrainian Response University Bill. Let me pull that up real quick for everybody. Yeah, you can. Do you want to just start presenting on it while I get it pulled up?
Yeah, I don't have a copy of the bill with me, so I have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Cool, fantastic. So hi everyone, my name is Alexis, she, her pronouns, president of the Western Student Association. So the three of us authored this bill, mostly to solidify some of the work that WSA is currently doing with campus partners, but also to say that into the future, we're going to continue to do work with campus partners as it relates to the response on the Ukrainian and Russian war that is ongoing. As you might have seen, we did a moment of silence yesterday at Flagpoles with Hanukkah Institute for Global Education. We are currently partnering with the Campus Activities Board to provide care packages to students that are going through a hard time with the situation right now, as well as those who want to rally and address support for the initiative. I think of the other things that we've done. We also did an educational event yesterday evening in partnership with the Department of Political Science and the We Talk with the Office for Governing Relations. It was a really great opportunity. I think we had, what would you say, Alex, like maybe 80 people, 90 people attended that. It was a really great opportunity for people to become educated on the history of the situation, as well as get a better understanding of the political and military situation surrounding it. One of the professors that joined us was a former NATO officer. And so he provided some really amazing context. And if anyone's interested in seeing what that presentation entailed, we did upload the recorded version of it last night. So I think that's just saying that we're going to continue to do. I personally would really like to see us develop some templates that people can write to their congressperson to address allowing Ukrainian refugees into the country. Yeah, I'll stop talking now, so give it over to you.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna just jump in here real quick and say this is also us recognizing that this is one of many facets in the global world right now that's completely groundbreaking and something that will probably impact our lives for the rest of our lives as we know it. So more than anything, this bill is provide an opportunity, a platform for students to get involved in what's going on in the world right now, as it's sometimes kind of hard as students to know where to go, who to turn to, what resources to get involved with. This is a start, and WSA using its platform for good and help students connect students to resources that they can help other students with, or students who need help to get resources through.
With all that being said, I'll now read the bill. For anybody who might not be able to read it themselves, whereas the Russian Federation has illegally and decisively invaded Ukraine and caused waves of destruction around the world, and whereas students across Western Michigan University's campus have been directly and indirectly impacted by these attacks, and whereas the Western Student Association exists to provide resources and support to Western Michigan University students. Therefore, be it resolved, the Western Student Association condemns the violent and illegal attack on Ukraine by the Russian Federation, and therefore be it further resolved, the Western Student Association will exhaust all efforts to support Western Michigan University students that are both directly and indirectly affected by these attacks. At this point, we can go into any questions that individuals might have regarding this bill. If you're in person, raise your hand. If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Charles, feel free to go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, sir.
Perfect. For President Morris, is it possible if I could be added as a co-signer to this bill?
I'll allow it.
Thank you. Mr. Eric, can you put the third, please?
Give me a moment.
Maybe another point.
Thank you.
WSA in front of anything that's WSA related or WU in front of WU related, just so there's.
May I be a co-signer as well? No.
I guess for context, why we said that is part of the WSA link tree that went out as part of student resources. We offered this as an opportunity for students to co-sign it, whether they're in WSA or not, student staff and faculty members. So for context, that's why there's some WMU, non-WSA people who are co-signers on stuff.
Hey, I like the capital L. Yeah, that'll work. This is not, for reference, everybody, my regular computer cracked out on me yesterday, so I'm stuck with this. Yeah, I'm really mad about it. So we're stuck with this one for now.
We're at WMU in front of young Shirley. Thank you. Before they vote on it.
Yeah, you have to go into discussion too anyway, take the amendment.
I put mine in. Not okay. It's dealing with students.
Raise your hand if you want to be a co-signer of this bill.
You just make a note and then.
I was gonna say, can we just make a note and then add it later if you want?
Yeah, I got you. Keep your hands up.
Also,
please.
Piper is online.
Yes, Piper and Matthew would also.
I absolutely love the support for this, but we do not have the time to do each one individually.
Correct. All right, then while hands are raised, once Colin gets to you and write your name with your hands
Virtual
up.
people keep them up, please.
Yes, virtual people, please keep your hands up. Do we have any discussion points? Is there any amendments that would like to be proposed? Do you have an amendment? Discussion point, all right, 1 second. All right.
Thank you. Aside this bill, is there any action document attached to it? In sense of maybe what the next move? Because one, if the bill is passed, there will be an action treaty that comes out of it. So what is the next step? That's my question.
So can you just clarify, we were asking like what the next steps are if this is passed, like what the next actionable steps are, yeah. So we wrote this bill in such a way that it could be less open-ended because we don't know how long this invasion is going to last. It could be the next 2 weeks, it could be the next 2 years. Yeah, unfortunately, it probably could be the next 20 years. And so we didn't want to solidify different ways in which we could get involved. So we left it open-ended to say that these are the myriad of ways in which WSA has the ability now to address this issue. So I can tell you from like the planning side of things, we're looking to do a candlelight vigil, as well as those care packages with the campus activities board, and then also adding to the link treat some resources for people to write to congressperson for the refugee crisis that is going to happen naturally as a result of the displacement of the Ukrainian people. But if anyone else is also, and this is going to kind of be my discussion point, if people have ideas and want to bring them, please feel free to talk to me, have conversations. It's not just me, there's a whole ton of people working on this. If there's a campus community partner that you think we should be collaborating with, please let us know. We're trying to make this whole series as collaborative and unified as possible. We had the privilege of WMU actually spotlighting the moment of silence yesterday, which brings a lot of visibility to the campus community and addressing the situation. So I think I just gave you a very political answer. But basically, we just left it open-ended as possible so that we can continue to do things as needed. So does that make sense? Thank you.
Are there other questions? Other questions? Matthew, do you have your hand up for a question or do you want your name to be added as a co-sponsor? Oh, that just secures that. Thank you. Other questions? Hearing and seeing none. Oh, wait, no, we're in the discussion point. Yeah, we're in questions.
Oh, there's another discussion.
Discussion points, all right.
Aside the Ukraine itself, there are other countries or international immigrants that are trying to enter maybe Poland and other neighboring countries, whereby they are being refused access. So what are we also doing to help that? Because it's going to create a lot of issues along the border in those countries also.
I think that one is going to be a pretty similar answer to the one Alexis just gave you, in that like, as of right now, we don't know, but the idea of this bill is like to help Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. So wherever Ukrainian people go, if there's resources and needs that like affect our students here, if there's anything that we can do, whether it's, sending care package to a refugee camp in Poland, whatever, the time comes. I think this is not centered on directly Ukraine as a country, but the Ukrainian people, even, Ukrainian people who live here at Western, live in the Kalamazoo community, it has ripple effects beyond what, is the bounds of the country. So that's definitely another reason why we left it open, and we'll be looking for those paths forward, when the time comes for that.
I have one more thing. Kind of addressing a little bit more of what you just asked too, is that I think that yes, this stance from this administration, like my administration, has been very strong with Ukraine. And I think that it's intentional. It leads the way for future student leaders to react to world events as needed and how they feel necessary and what they feel called to. I don't recall a time in my time at Western where WSA has come out and taken a huge stance to some world event. I thought that it was super important that we do start doing these because we are one of the largest RSOs on campus. And so if we show unified support for students and for stability and for the preservation of democracy, I think that we all benefit.
Are there other questions or discussion points? Hearing and seeing none, we can move into voting. This does not deal with money, so consent can be called. Somebody would like to call consent, or we can move into again vote.
Consent.
Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? Hearing and seeing no opposition, the bill passes. Thank you all very much for your support.
Update on the IF stuff.
Yeah, go ahead, take it. But I'm sure gonna kill myself.
So technically, no one applied, no RSO applied for IF funding from the Allocations Commission. Just an update from the Allocations Commission. So from my understanding is that mainly because it was too last minute and the organizers were technically not organized. So they don't even know the context of what's happening for IF.
Thank you. Alrighty. We can move into our next agenda item, which is the revised constitution presentation and discussion amendments, etc., etc.
Welcome back to Constitution Roundtable. I guess to open this up, just to outline kind of the expectations and our plan of this going forward. We're going to open up, first of all, the floor to questions. We understand that you guys have not just like taken a glance at the document, you probably have read it a little bit more, I hope. Or if not, that's totally okay. We're going to open it up for questions, concerns, clarification, things you want explanations on first, kind of have a discussion on it. And then we'll be moving into an article by article informal approval. There are 20 articles in this constitution. So as we go to each article, if we hit an article that you have an amendment, have a question you didn't thought of before, raise your hand. We'll go to that section, we'll resolve it, and we'll move on. This is a really big document, and I don't want to take longer than we have, but I would like to address each and every question that you guys have. Is there any questions about how we're going to proceed forward?
I just want to make a joke real quick. Nobody emailed me anything, so I'm assuming everybody read it and thought it was great. Please.
I love whoever. So I guess now opening up the floor to questions. What questions do you guys have?
Real quick for everybody online and in person, I am going to put it up on the screen in 3, 2, 1. Voila! It's on. If you're on Zoom, you can see it.
Is that the QR code to scan it on the screen?
No,
You still have that thing?
I do not.
I don't know what that means.
All right, now you can see it online and in person. So we'll go up to the top. If you have a question, please shout out an article number and I'll scroll down to it. Matt.
So one of the big questions that I have after reading through the Constitution was 3.6.4. It states a non-voting assembly member may introduce legislation, articles of impeachment, and articles of expulsion, so long as those documents fit the appropriate requirements. So my concern with that, and I guess first my question is why are you guys allowing non-voting members to take part in these activities?
So if I may, when I was creating, I believe it's Article 7, which is about dismissals. I'm sorry, excuse me, leaving the organization essentially. I kind of, the interpretation of impeachment that I took was more so not so like a big trial sort of deal, but rather the assembly taking back her confirmation. And so I kind of, the 4 different ways you can leave WSA, I have it kind of tiered out. So tier 1 is I quit, I don't want to do this anymore. Tier 2 would be the rescinding or taking back of nomination or of approval. And so that being dismissal or impeachment respectively, and expulsion is the new big one. So that being said, impeachment is no longer the big one. We have this new expulsion. In addition to that, we have the check on that being that the assembly votes on it. And so non-voting members can still introduce articles of impeachment, but they can't vote on it. They can't, so we have that check built into the assembly. Does that answer your question? Do you have any further questions?
Yeah, that's my question. I just don't know how I feel about non-voting members being able to even write and introduce articles of impeachment and expulsion. It seems, as somebody who's not internally involved, that they may not know all of the activities that are surrounding the decisions that are made. Therefore, it could be a impulse decision to.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
A quick point of information.
Yeah.
Is it possible for non-voting members to introduce other memorandums of agreement and bills into the legislature as well?
Yes, yeah, so I guess the first thing is that, defined in the Constitution, a non-voting member is someone who doesn't have voting rights, so that includes your cabinet and your non-voting rights in the legislature, so that includes cabinet and the judicial branch. So for us to take away all of cabinet and all of the judicial branch to not be able to write articles of impeachment or articles of expulsion, I think would be incredibly restrictive and detrimental to the organization. So in the fact that you are correct in that we are opening it up for non-voting members outside of the organization to write these things, we are also opening up for non-voting members inside the organization to write these things, which is the imperative thing. I mean, when you think about it, there is the check in the legislature, and if someone does introduce these articles, it can fall flat in 10 minutes. And that's 10 minutes of the legislature's time that was like, we don't like this. But if it is someone who is a non-voting member writing legitimate articles of impeachment, we wouldn't want them to have to re-navigate and go through a voting member to introduce those, because that's really restrictive and, not within the power of WSA. Does that make sense?
If I also may add, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm new to the microphones. The WSA's responsibility is to represent the wants and needs of the student body. And so therefore, if anyone in the student body feels as though their rights and their wants and needs are not being represented, they have the right then to call for an impeachment of someone. Because at the end of the day, our core responsibility is to represent the needs of the student body.
And I'll just add one final comment, I guess, as obviously the CEO of the executive branch right now, if I have a problem with either of the speakers, in the current WSA, have the ability to bring up articles of impeachment against them. This is just making sure that I still have that ability, and same with anyone on my team, because basically you get into really dangerous territory if the legislature is being ring-led by one person. And of course, the legislature isn't going to see the issue, and then I never have an option to speak about further issues and implications that causes in the organization.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the judicial branch and the cabinet having the ability to write those executive orders for expulsion and impeachment. It's just the non-voting members. I think that could maybe be giving students a little bit too much power to bring politicizing this issue a little more than it should be. So just like what we have in our current country, right? If constituents have problems with their leadership, they go to their legislators, right, representatives, and then they take it up to the government. So that's my concern, is that it's being politicized. Again, other people have their opinions, but I just wanted to state that.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid concern. I will say, like, our national government is also very slow, and we don't have the ability to take time with this process. Like, student government is just really high-paced. You guys all understand that. I'm sure student organizations at large are all pretty high-paced. I just will echo again, like, I think the legislative check is the strongest check that exists. It's the 2/3 vote required. Yeah, the 2/3 vote requirement for those articles to even go through. 3/4. So even higher, 75%.
Real quick, I just want to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. Are you making a motion to amend it, or are you just asking for information? Thank you. You can Thanks. If you are either in person or online, I'm just going to go through a quick polypro thing with you. If you have a question that relates to a previous question that's been asked, feel free to say point of information and then ask your question. That automatically boosts you to the top of the speakers list. feel free to type that in the chat or in person. That way you don't kind of get, that way you don't have to be like 3 speeches later. Oh, I got a question about what was talked about 10 minutes ago. So quick Probably Pro update for you. Are there any other questions? Well then, hearing and seeing none, we can start at the top of the Constitution and work our way through.
I say, Eric, how do you want to do this? Do you want me to call off the article and you handle any kind of like things that come up, or how do you do?
If you want to call out the article, I will read it just as we did the student election code and handle Probably Pro, and then you three are.
So we're planning on reading all 62 pages out loud?
Yes.
Okay, I guess we were assuming that we'd go through each article stated, and then if someone had a question, you read the section that has a question, and this can take us about 2 hours to read it out loud.
I'll give it to the legislature. Is there a preference one way or the other?
Section by section. You said
Real quick, are you in favor of simply reading it, or are you in favor of having it read out loud? What are our thoughts?
Read out loud.
Read out loud?
the whole thing.
Do you want do you want the whole document read out loud, or just sections of which people have pages?
I think go section.
We got a question, a comment to that. A section read out loud or just having it up on the screen? Just on the screen, okay?
I would say reading out the bolded
Yeah.
statements
Okay.
into the sections, and then giving a brief description, just a 1 or 2 sentence description of what that section says. And there's questions we can do that and then move on.
All right, Colin, and I'll go to you. Okay?
Yeah, so the whole point of doing a read-through period last week was for y'all to get the opportunity to actually read through the entire document word for word. That was the whole goal of giving you an entire week with the document inside your inbox. So that's kind of why we're going against the whole line by line, word by word. We reread it one night and it
6 hours.
6
I
hours.
was just gonna mention.
So y'all are here in 6 hours. Got it.
I mean,
There's
I-
a lot of interconnectedness, like it refers to different parts of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Colin said.
All right.
I skipped it. But like what with as you said, just like section by section, and then just kind of a brief outline.
Right.
That would
Preamble. Preamble.
Yeah, did we check with our online friends, see if they're okay with that?
There has been nothing in the chat, so I'm presuming that nobody has objection.
We're all home playing Minecraft.
All right. Okay, so does everyone like the cover page? It is missing a very cute, amazing graphic that kept us going throughout the entire thing, but
To us that it should not be included. I
Somebody
voted
who hates
against it. I am.
all right, cover page, check, 1 out of 61. Going on to page 2, we have the preamble. This copied from the last constitution.
Literally word for word.
Then part 1, Article
Yep,
1, purpose
part-
and constitution of the Western Student Association.
Yep, so part 1 is what the purpose of the Western Student Association is, so it just goes into a little bit more depth about the preamble. It goes into the fact that we have 3 branches. And that this article requires the consent of the student body to change, i.e. it is unconstitutional.
Just really quick, I just thought I'd mention, so we kind of kept the idea of constitution, I don't know, can you guys hear me? Am I good? I don't know how mics work.
Can you move just a little bit closer to it? That'll
So we
work.
wanted to keep the idea of the constitution, the preamble, meaning so that the constitution needs the consent of the student body to be changed. Or I'm sorry, not the preamble, the bylaws, and the bylaws don't. And so the way that I have written that into this is the first 10 articles, the very last section and clause of every single article says that of the first 10, say that this article cannot be changed without the consent of the student body. Just go ahead and clarify that. Oh, thank you so much. That's basically verbatim every single article for the first 10. I mean, obviously with the required number changes. Want to clarify that.
All right, anything in Article 1?
Motion to vote.
All right, we have a motion to approve
Okay.
Article 1.
Is I guess, are we gonna go through a like consent vote for each article? If consent happens to be called, or are we gonna do like an individual vote?
So I would allow consent for the individual sections,
But
and
not
at
for
the
the
end, we will vote on the entire constitution as a whole, and that will require an actual vote count.
Okay, sound good? All right.
Is there consent on Article 1?
Consent.
Consent on call, is there any opposition? Nope. Article 2, membership.
All right, Article 2,
Motion to
membership.
vote.
There's been a motion to vote, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We have to go through Carly Pro, I'm sorry. So Carly Pro, just a reminder, at this point, there's been a motion to vote. At this point, you are not voting to approve or deny Article 2. You are voting to go into voting, if that's what you want to do. So,
In Article 2.
I have 4 amendments over the course of the
Oh, no, he's saying for Article 2.
Gotcha, never mind, I'm sorry, I was confused.
yeah, so is there consent on going into voting? Consent called, any opposition?
Okay.
No opposition, Article 2 is approved. Going into Article 3, the legislative branch.
Okay, we, as the person presenting this, I request that I be able to describe the article before it goes into voting.
Oh, motion to vote.
It has been moved to vote. Is there a second?
What are we voting on?
The article.
It's the same thing that we just did, voting to vote.
Voting to vote on what?
Article 3. There was a motion. Is there a second? As the motion has not been seconded, the motion fails. We continue into presentation on Article 3.
All right, 6. So Article 3 is the assembly, what the legislative branch. It talks about the purpose of the assembly. The big thing about the assembly is that membership to the assembly, one must meet the membership requirements, and the assembly is composed of registered student organization assembly members, general assembly members, and non-voting assembly members. Their descriptions are also, and the descriptions and requirements are also in this article. And then the other thing to note about this article is that it also houses the speaker and secretary of the assembly and the new speakers code things, and that these all require the consent of the student body to change.
All right, so Dakota, apparently the correct terminology that you can use is moving the previous question.
Oh, get out of here, Chris. Moving the previous question.
All right, now Chris, just make sure I'm right. If he moves the previous question, then we go into voting to vote.
He's just being bald, probably.
It was me. All right, so Dakota called the previous question, or he moves the previous question. Is there a second? You can't second your own motion, sorry.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there consent to go into voting on Article 3? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, now we can go into voting on Article 3. Is there a consent on Article 3? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, Article 3 is approved. We can go into Article 4, which is
The executive branch.
executive branch. Thank you.
We are gonna get a lot of Carly Pro practice today. So going into Article 4, the executive branch. The executive branch houses all of the executive board and cabinet. It outlines their duties, their responsibilities, what they can and can't do. It outlines our brand new spanking position of chief of staff. It outlines some of the positions that we have merged together. It is one of our longest sections, so I'm still scrolling to find the end of it, to be completely honest.
I believe it is the longest.
Yep, it also houses the description for each of the codes that respective cabinet members may have to write, including the marketing code, the allocations bylaws. And this is considered constitutional and requires the consent of the student body. Of note, this area does not go into a line-by-line description of each of the cabinet members' roles. That is farther down. This is just the general purpose and what they have to do unless they want to be impeachable.
All right, Matt, you have a question?
Yeah. So my question is, 4.2.3. It's going to under the executive board. It states the executive board shall have the power to author executive orders. It shall be approved and signed by 3 of the 4 members of the executive board. So with that, again, my concern is that if the executive board is all the same, if they're all friends, they all want to do something together that's against what the student body wants, or that's what the legislative wants, can there then again be some sort of, if there's 3/4 vote in the legislative body, that executive order fails. Basically, we're going to veto your executive order.
Yeah,
correct.
it's outlined in another article.
It's outlined later.
Okay.
It isn't there.
And also, just a motion, not motion, just to say, anything can be brought up, anything that people have problems with can be brought up to the judicial branch. So if there's, an assembly member that's like, man, this executive order stinks. Hey, Chief Justice, why does it stink? Can you help me? There's that appeals process for any. There's a lot of checks. Yes, I do. So, hello, everyone. I have my first amendments. The main part of it takes place in Article 4. However, the House itself is in Article 5. I didn't really know how to bring about this, but it starts happening in Article 4. Essentially, we have an oath of office as states. And so what I decided to do was, in my little document here, I wrote in, first of all, description for the oath of office. Give me one moment. So essentially what I wrote was to ensure the elected officials, the student body president, student body vice president, staff, maintain their commitment to the student body, they must take an oath of office. Therefore, 5.6.3, and that is where we talk about the judicial code, shall be amended to include, and then I have the phrase, to outline and the process of an oath of office for the office of the student body president, the office of the student body vice president, and the office of the chief of staff, which shall be slated between 5.6.3.6 and 5.6.3.7, and the numbering shall be changed accordingly.
So we'll get to that in Article 5, right?
Okay, yeah, it's just, the thing is, I then go forward in 4.3.4, 4.4.4, and 4.5.4, saying essentially that each of those positions must adhere to their respective oath of office. So it's an amendment that bridges 2 articles.
Could we slap together the approval of Article 4 and Article 5 and just make the amendments in one?
And we have to.
I personally, I would prefer each amendment be made individually.
So like each change to the individual thing, like he's gonna add something in 5, and then every single, the president, VP, and chief of staff all have to have something added. So those would be 4 different amendments. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that if we amend Article 5, and we have that amendment written in, then it will automatically retro apply to our Article 4. Because you're saying it will be changed.
Oh, can we just, I mean, all 4 of them are linked. Can I just propose it as one amendment?
Yeah, he's saying propose it as one amendment in Article 5.
Correct. We need to approve Article 4 first.
Because it initiates in Article 5.
So then we have to reapprove Article 4? Yeah, that's.
No, you would not have to reapprove Article 4,
Okay. Is that okay?
because the amendments would be approved by everyone in going into Article 4.
We're gonna say sounds good and roll with this. If anyone has any questions at any time, please raise your hand. I'm still a little confused as to what's going on, so I'm assuming some of you guys are also. Raise your hand if you have a question at any time. So I guess then with Sam being told to hold his horses and wait a second to Article 5, does anyone else have anything in Article 4?
Move the previous question. Yeah. Okay, Coda moves the previous question. It's been seconded. Is there consent to go into voting? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, that motion passes. Is there consent to approve Article 4?
Consent.
Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, Article 4 is approved. You can go into Article 5. Could you please tell me where you would like this added?
First of all, I'm sending you the document. I realize I didn't send that to you.
He's gonna email it to you so you can copy and paste it over if legislature approves it. Is it okay if I go and start a description of Article 5 first?
Yeah, Article 5, judicial branch. Go.
All right.
Sam, can you just see CV on it so he doesn't have to have his inbox up like that?
Oh,
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah.
Sweet. Article 5, the judicial branch. Article 5 outlines the judicial branch. It talks about the composition of judicial branch. The bare bones, that's what the Chief Justice needs to do, what the associate justices need to do, what the election promotion chair needs to do, which is now housed as an associate justice. Talks about what the judicial code needs to include, talks about the student election code, and this requires the consent of the student body as it is part of the Constitution.
I sent it to you guys.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to pause the share. Real quick. What email did you send it to?
Hold on, my computer is.
All right, while they're doing that, does anyone have any questions in Article 5?
WSA VP and WSA House.
Oh, I just got it.
Awesome. No one mind the document.
No fun allowed in WSA.
Second. Also, when we're talking about this, Eric, did you get my pretty graphic?
Yes, that's been updated.
Oh, thank you.
Did you have a question, Lila?
Yeah, what's up?
So, question on this, I think we talked about this last meeting. The associate or the chief justice is one that chooses his associate justices. Again, checks and balances there. How does that process work? Does the legislature have to approve the associate justices?
Yes. Is that your only question? I was also going to add, I'm going to go ahead and plant a little seed of another amendment I have to make later. Right now, as it stands, if let's say there's an impeachment, articles of impeachment brought up against the chief justice, then the chief justice chairs that impeachment trial. That's lame and dumb. And so to further our checks and balances, if there's any impeachment or expulsion brought up against anyone in the judicial branch, then the Speaker of the Assembly becomes the chair, will chair that expulsion or impeachment trial. Just to add another further check onto. I understand your concern from there, but the idea of creating this judicial branch the way we did was to kind of push it way off in the corner, let us do its own thing within WSA, so that it can stay as neutral as possible. But there are checks and balances between the three branches and pertaining to the judicial. Yeah, does that answer your question? Yep. Cool, thank you.
All right, quick thing has been brought to my attention that we're losing some people online. I understand that this is boring. I'm also kind of bored too, not gonna lie. But if you could please stay with us, this is incredibly important to vote on. If you want to change the camera and look at my face, I dressed up for you guys. If you want to, we'd rather see that instead. If you want some chicken squeaks, just let us know what you need to stay engaged. We understand that this is not the most fun process, but we'd love for you to stay with us and we want to hear your thoughts and opinions.
That last person about.
Colin.
Also fake rat.
Leaving our meeting?
All right.
All right, sweet. So,
Sam, you formally proposed the amendment, which is now number 7, and has been highlighted on our screen for everybody. First of all, the amendment has been proposed. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded, so now we can move into questioning and discussion. Are there questions or discussion points on this amendment?
Is the grammar correct? That's a question. That's my question.
I think this is a great amendment and it needs to be added because we are not perfect people. And after writing this, we went through after a break and we found this hole and this hole needs to be patched. Thank you.
Move the question.
Real quick, Alex, did you have your hand raised?
No.
This grammar right? Really late the other night. Is the grammar right?
The grammar is right.
Good.
I
Okay,
can.
thank you.
And even if it wasn't, the existing bills require it. Anyways. So the previous question has been called. Is there a second? Then seconded, is there consent?
Consent.
Just real quick, To remind everybody, consent, we're going to vote to go into voting. So is there any opposition? Don't see anyone online, and I don't see anyone in person. So we can go into voting. Now, once again, we're approving just the amendment, not the article, not the whole constitution. Is there consent on the amendment? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? Right. Seeing none, that amendment has been approved.
Is there any way that we can skip that first part of Tommy Crow as the speaker, or not the speaker, but as the chair of the meeting? Say we skip that first part and just say.
If a motion is made, it has to be followed. But if no motion is made, then I, as the chair, can just go into voting.
So instead of Dakota saying move the previous question, you could just say. If
And all right, and if there's no further discussion points, we can go into voting.
Does that sound good, Dakota?
Yeah.
Can you suspend the rules for this?
And reinstate them for the formal vote.
Motion to remove the rules.
Motion. Hold on.
Well, I think it's worth noting that the phrase Robert's rules exists nowhere in this constitution.
Chris, I'm hoping you're still here. Could you provide some insight, please, on suspending the rules?
Suspending the rules of what?
Just Robert's rules for
Robert's
this
rules.
process.
For
For
the
this process.
informal approvals of these articles.
For the approvals of amendments and the articles.
Informal.
Well, if you want my honest opinion, you're kind of slaughtering Robert already. So I think as long as you're consistent, you're mixing up discussion and quite Q&A. So I would just keep rolling. I think you guys are doing a decent job in terms of efficiency. So I would just keep going.
Sounds good. All right, so in the name of efficiency, we are going to let Eric just naturally roll into voting, and then we can quickly call second and consent. Does that sound good for everyone here?
Unless you have opposition, of course.
Yes, absolutely. If you have opposition, please do speak up.
No.
All right.
It's my birthday.
All right, so I believe we are done with discussion and question period on the amendment.
Yes, we are.
This amendment also applies to Article 4, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that was just, I'm sorry, that was a plan.
Are those already put in or those?
Those we put in afterwards. All right, I see no more discussion points, so is the consent on Article 5? Consent can call any opposition. Hearing and seeing none, that is passed, approved. Article 6, vacancies.
Article 6, vacancies. So this walks through vacancies in the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, and this requires the consent of the student body.
It's essentially line of succession. Succession. I don't know. Is there, are they two different words? I don't know. Don't ask me right now.
All right, questions, comments, concerns in Article 6?
Hearing and seeing none, is there consent?
Consent.
Consent's been called, is there any opposition? Nope.
All right, guys, we're steamrolling right ahead. If we get to Article 10, soon we will get a few second breaks to kind of stand up, walk around, and not focus on this. So steamrolling right ahead into Article 7, departure from the Western Student Association. This outlines the processes that Sam talked about earlier: resignations, dismissal, impeachment, and expulsion. This requires the consent of the student body.
I have an amendment. I actually have two amendments for this guy. Essentially, it's just that conflict of interest that I talked about, I don't know, what feels like 3 hours ago. Essentially, in 7.3.3, it currently states that an impeachment trial shall be held in the assembly presided over by the Chief Justice. Clearly creates a conflict of interest. Therefore, 7.3.3 shall be changed to, this is wordy, so stick with me here. An impeachment trial shall be held in the assembly presided over by the Chief Justice unless articles of impeachment have been introduced against the position within the judicial branch, in which case the Speaker of the Assembly shall preside over the impeachment trial. And then my second motion is essentially the same thing, but instead of impeachment, it's expulsion. Cool. I don't know, probably cool. Yeah. Same.
All right. While Eric gets that on the screen, does anyone have any initial questions, comments, concerns, discussion points on?
Is it possible to move the question? No. You are barred from saying those words right now.
Yeah, I think he's working on it.
All right, so here is the event. Oh, no, there it is. So this is what's highlighted will be what the text will read and replacing what's struck out. Yes, Michelle?
Did you mention the case where like the speaker of the assembly is the one to introduce articles of impeachment against the speaker?
No, we
didn't.
Wait, what's the question?
I thought when this first came up, we talked about like the case where the speaker of the assembly is the one to propose the articles of impeachment against the speaker.
I believe anybody can, but I'll let them clarify.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, it's good. When we first started talking about this amendment, you brought up the case where the speaker of the assembly is the one to file the articles of impeachment against the judicial branch.
Then the secretary of the assembly, it's line of secession outlined in Article 6. The speaker, or I'm sorry, the secretary of the assembly.
That might be like, what if that guy's like, well, I get to preside over it, even though I get it. Like,
Is it written in this amendment?
Is that written in this amendment?
Can we add a sentence to the end in the case in which the Speaker of the Assembly and the Chief Justice are implicated in the?
I would just say essentially in the case that the Speaker of the Assembly was involved in the articles in the, or just involved in the articles of impeachment or expulsion, depending on the two, I'm using both here, then what is it, Article 6 dot blah, 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 will go into effect. Let me pull up that number for you real quick. 6 dot, da, 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 da.
My favorite number. First, I don't think that articles of
It's just about impeachment.
Then just simply 6.1 will go into effect. Is everyone okay with that? 6.1 is essentially just vacancies in the legislative branch. Oh, I'm sorry.
Eric, can you read it? What's up there?
I can't.
An impeachment trial shall be held in the assembly presided over by the chief justice unless the articles of impeachment have been introduced against the petitioner in the judicial branch, in which case the speaker of the assembly shall preside over the impeachment trial. In the case that the speaker of the assembly is involved in the articles of impeachment and or articles of expulsion, Article 6.1 will go into effect.
Not and or articles of expulsion, because articles of expulsion is outlined in 7.4. So this is just impeachment.
Yeah, we need to basically copy and paste the same thing for expulsion.
And then take the thingies. So
Does that make
not,
sense?
yeah, that makes sense?
I think so.
Correct.
Let me just see what it says.
Article before 6.1 is not consistent.
Yeah. Say that again, let's just start.
I was gonna say, is putting the word article before 6.1.
Nope, just 6.1. No, not Article 6.1. Sorry, just 6.1. Thank you.
This is a peek into what our life is like for the past 20 days.
I did the math. It was 80 hours over the course of a week and a half.
We welcome your companionship in this process.
He's not even paid.
I know, right? Holy cow. I'm paid in
Oh my gosh, I have all of my honors held on.
Are there any questions or discussion points on the event? Oh, wait, there. Right, people online, here's what it says. Are there any questions on the amendment? I see none. Are there any discussion points on the amendment? I see none. We can move into voting. Is there consent? Consent's been called. Is there any opposition? Hearing and seeing no opposition, that amendment has been approved. And we will leave that.
And then it needs to be the same thing in 7.4, but expulsion.
All right, see, is there any questions, comments, concerns by the voucher page on this version of it, which we just changed the word impeachment to expulsion? No.
Thanks, Dakota.
Commissioner Dakota's still awake.
He knows his legislature.
I don't need, I say, no.
7, that one, right? Yeah.
Hope that wasn't the mic.
We're gonna take a break here.
All right, here is the revision. Let me make sure I wrote that correctly. Somebody else.
It is incorrect.
What is incorrect? Oh, that should be expulsion.
Expulsion, you
Oh,
Article expulsion trial should be held the Assembly. Chief Justice wants articles of expulsion.
There's another one preside over the.
I cannot hear everyone's just speaking. I'm like, okay.
Blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's what
It's 6.1 will go into effect.
Oh.
Yep, 6.1, it's the same thing.
All right, are there any questions regarding this amendment? Are there any discussion points on this amendment? Is there consent? Is there any opposition to consent? Nope, okay.
All right.
So now we have to do the whole amendment, we have to do the whole thing as a whole, correct? Yeah.
Article's good, we already did it. It's pretend we did. Article 8.
Any other questions or discussion points on Article 7? Is there consent? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition?
the first expelled
Are you sure? Yes. Congrats. All right, no, moving into Article 8, elections.
All right, everyone's favorite article, Article 8, it outlines a couple of different types of elections, general student body elections, which actually, not to promote things, but actually happen at the end of March. There's a vice presidential debate after this, little plug there. We also have special student body elections that can happen in the fall, just copy and paste what we're doing right now in the fall. Internal elections, which happens when things need to be voted on internally, and this is the Constitution requires consent of the student body. Anyone have anything?
I was, can I have,
Yes.
the really cool thing about a special election is that now that the student body has the ability to call for an election for the student assessment fee to change in the middle of the year. Obviously, it's still not binding until passed by the Board of Trustees, but before, historically, we could only do that at the spring election. So now there's twice the opportunity for us to be able to change the staff.
Any questions on Article 8? Any discussion points on Article 8? Is there consent? Whoa.
Speaker fight.
Is there any opposition? Nope, Article 9.
All right, Article 9 amendments, amending this with the consent of the student body, West Michigan University, just outlines that the 8 articles above it need consent of the student body, and then the articles following it do not need the consent of the student body, outlines how that process goes. But Article 9 follows its own rules and needs consent of the student body. Listening for any ticket squeaks.
Any questions? Any discussion points?
Please stay with us.
Is there consent? Any opposition?
Did you say have? No. We're basically done.
I was gonna say, we're getting ready to go in part 2.
Nope, Article 10.
Part 2, purpose of the Western Student Association.
Wait, is it article, hold on, article, oh, no, I'm sorry, that was a format. Never mind, sorry, never mind. I take it back. All right, I was just confused because article 10 is named as part 2, but yet it is listed in part 1, I forgot.
Sorry, happy against for next one. Article 10, part 2, it says what the purpose of part 2 is, which is basically the bylaws, we're just calling it part 2. And the outline of the bylaws requires the consent of the student body, not yet at part 2, save your happy dances until we pass.
I've been referring to this as a staple. Essentially, Article 11 is the same thing. Just staples the two documents together. And both of them, it refers to the existence of the other, therefore we have bylaws.
But we'll never call them bylaws.
No, I don't like that word.
Any questions?
Evil.
Any discussion points?
I won.
Consent? Any opposition?
Called a lot best.
Well, yeah, that happens. I'm sure he has a big problem.
Seeing none.
Part
Part two,
two.
Article 11.
Part two for real this time.
Basically done.
Article 11, part two, it says that the purpose is to allow the assembly greater control in the finer details of things. Does everyone like Article 11?
Beautiful, beautiful.
Question. Colin, could we please do a quorum count?
Why me? Oh.
Why not you?
If you would be willing to, otherwise I can do it.
I'll figure
Let's
it
just
out.
keep this train
I'm not even
moving while
doing
we-
it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we keep this train moving, because this is all informal.
Thank you. All right, any questions? Any discussion points? Hearing and seeing none. Consider consent.
Consent.
No opposition. All right, and that's approved, Article 12, membership.
Article 12, super easy, it's one line.
Article 12 is just 12.1. It basically just assists in the rollover between years. If you have voting status at the end of the spring semester, which we should all have voting status unless you're a like cabinet member, you get voting status next year. Love the enthusiasm, yes.
Are there any questions? Any discussion points? All right, consent. Any opposition? None seen, we can move into Article 13.
I have some, I'm just saying.
Damn. All right, Article 13 is responsibilities and duties of the legislative branch. Basically just gives them everything else that wasn't covered in the Constitution. It talks about voting meetings, non-voting meetings, what the assembly leadership does. Talks about the secretary, the speaker, what committees look like. We did away with standing committees. All committees are ad hoc. It outlines academic college committees, which is taking the place of senators nowadays. So you still get to serve your same amazing function. It's just in the form of a committee. And then we also have a legislative reporter. That's new. It talks about how you introduce legislation and resolutions. And yeah, so that's it.
All right, we do have one amendment up and proposed, adding ensure that all meetings are properly live streamed, archived, and available to the public.
Essentially, it's just to ensure, just for the interest of transparency.
Is there a
Thank you,
second
Alex.
to the amendment? Oh, are you?
No, I'm done.
All right, is there a second to the amendment?
Can we say all legislators?
Meetings within the assembly. So what does that say here? Ensure that all meetings,
are properly live.
say that all meetings within the assembly. Yeah, that's a good point. Assembly is capitalized.
All right, is there a second to this amendment?
I second my own amendment.
Great.
Second.
Seconded. Are there questions on it?
We lost four.
We don't have quorum, so it's kind of over.
No, it doesn't have to be. Can the speakers work on getting people back?
I guess, just to outline the, if this has to be passed today to be able to go through the student body, and the general election. So if it's not passed today, this falls flat and won't be introduced again for another 2 years.
If you guys have friends that are in the WSA, text them, get them to join virtually. All they have to be is present. That's all we need. If we can please text anybody we know who's in the WSA, please get them in here as soon as possible.
I keep trying to join and it's like just me and these people.
That's the wrong link.
The wrong link on the calendar. Correct.
It might just push it over to Franklin.
So let's keep going. We still have 7 more articles.
I guess, can we keep pushing through the articles, but we won't be able to vote on the full thing? Is that,
This is informal.
is that what that stands as, or do we have to stop the train as?
That would be my recommendation, yeah, is that you can still continue with the meeting, but you're not supposed to take any official votes.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Real quick question on that. As amendments have to be approved, does that mean amendments that also have to be halted because those are required to be approved by the legislature?
We lost.
Well, again, that's back to Robert's rules. That was the guideline you all established, like usually you're mixing Q&A and discussion together. And so if you're voting, the plan that I heard you say was you're going to vote on the whole thing as a whole at the end anyway. So that's the vote that would count.
All right, so we can continue with amendment votes. Thank you, Chris, for that input, Mr. Advisor.
All right, can I say that out loud?
Yeah.
We are missing 6 glorious, wonderful, amazing, valued, and loved human beings right now. That's the number we need to reach. So if you have 6 friends that have voting rights in the WSA, I would absolutely love to see their face, and many more people would too.
Or their name on screen.
Or their name on screen works too. I give you all a hug. I've got like $20 if you wanted to. But going into Article 14 before we get this train too far off track.
Oh, we have
we have to do
consent
that.
on the amendment.
Got a little excited, my bad.
Is there consent on the amendment? Consent to call any opposition?
All right, who's on?
Nope. That's approved then. Is there a consent on the Article 13? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? Article 14.
All right, Article 14, responsibilities and duties of the executive branch. This just outlines all the finer points of what wasn't outlined in the Constitution. Many of these positions have many bullet points, so I'm not going to read them out. They just go through every single executive board and cabinet member, says what they need to do, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Is there consent on Article 14? Consent, any opposition? All right, that's approved. Article 15.
All right, this goes through the exact same thing for the judicial branch, the finer points of things. It leaves most things up to the judicial code and the finer working points. We outlined the elections promotion chair in this one. Questions, comments, concerns?
Is there consent? Any opposition? Being none. Article 16.
All right, Article 16 is summer operations of the Western Student Association. Basically, it just says as a chief executive officer, the respective branch can temporarily override convocation until the assembly is in session. Basically allows WSA to operate over the summer with a new cabinet confirmed once the school year starts. Questions, comments, concerns?
Is there consent? Consent. Any opposition? Being none, Article 17.
All right, Article 17 is also a pretty quick one. It just talks about the priorities and the line of succession. So if line of succession shall be enacted, this is what is referenced when it is.
It's essentially the article that's like if all of the heads of the 3 snakes are cut off, we have ways to put those heads back on. Like a restart button.
Any questions? Any discussion points? Is there consent? Any opposition? None. We can move into Article 18, Advisor of Western Student Association.
All right, the advisor of the Western Student Association, Chris, this is aimed at you, gives you some rules for the requirements of your office.
Any questions? Any discussion points? Is there consent? Any opposition? That's the sound of people joining. Article 19.
All right, Article 19. Hey, guess what? Article 19 is for Article 20, and Article 20 is the last article. So I want to point that one out for some little enthusiasm boosting. Article 19 is amendments to Part 2 of the Constitution of the Western Student Association. Just basically says that the Assembly needs to have a 2/3 majority concurrence to change anything in Part 2, also known as the bylaws. Questions, comments, concerns?
Is there consent? Any opposition? Seeing none, Article 20.
All right, Article 20, the end, judgment for that. Okay, Article 20 is technically part 3, which is the appendix. One of our big goals was to reference the other documents inside this document, which we did, but we decided to go a step further and make sure that they are linked. In this document, we also made some really cute graphics that I spent way too long designing. In fact, I messed up one, but the new one should be correct on every screen. It is basically just your normal typical appendix, so that someone, when reading it, can also visually see what WSA does and what WSA is, and can find all of these codes in this document. Questions, comments, concerns in Article 20?
Thank you for bringing up the fact that I am muted. Appreciate that. Is there consent? Any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, that is approved. Now we must wait for quorum to be established before we can take an official vote on the entire constitution as it is currently proposed.
We're figuring it out right now.
All right, so until we get quorums, does anyone have anything they'd like to say? I can start singing the entire song of Taylor Swift's 22. As I was played earlier, you probably don't want to hear me sing.
I'll sing.
Sam will say, oh man, I should probably sing first. First of all, I cannot say the importance of this. Like I said, it's not that we want to rush this and shove this down your throats, but it seems that the majority of people like this. So we would really like to have the opportunity to present to you a new WSA next year. I know that I personally have fallen in love with the old broken WSA, and I cannot wait to see what a new, brand new, spanking new, greased wheels and all WSA will be able to do for the students of Western Michigan University. I don't have very many friends. All my friends are in this room, but if you have friends, I implore you once more to please text them, call them, FaceTime them, carrier pigeons, telegraph, chickens, Morse code, emails.
Okay.
Yeah. Heard that's a new one popular nowadays.
No, it's not.
No, it's not popular.
Just while we're waiting for a quorum, I'm going to continue to talk about this constitution. I guess the first thing that I want to say is just an incredible thank you to all the people that that were dedicated themselves to this document, that helped us make it what it is. I'm incredibly proud of the work that we did, us between 8 and 10, depending on the night. And I just wanted to extend a personal thank you and personal appreciation to everyone that even just stopped in and checked on how we were doing. Because that's really what we're doing this for. We're doing this for the organization. We're doing this for the people in the organization, and we're doing this for the student body at Western Michigan University. And us being able to create a document that works and is efficient and creates an organization that does what it's designed to do. I'm personally proud to have worked on this. I really hope we get a quorum to pass it. That being said, I look forward to this new WSA if when we get this constitution passed. I'm incredibly proud of it, and I'm even more proud of it as a member of someone, as one of the people that had their eyes on this document. And I'm incredibly proud to be part of WSA now, just because as we learned this past weekend, we are different. Or this past weekend, 2 past weekends ago, we are different than all other student governments in the fact that we actually get shit done. Oh, I'm not supposed to swear, am I? We actually get stuff done. And I really hope that this new constitution helps us to continue to get shit done. Sorry, I already said it.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Cool. Nothing related to the Constitution, but for those of you that are in the House, if we don't reach quorum tonight, we will have no other choice but to call an emergency joint session again, the week that we get back.
And so we don't want to add any other barriers to you guys having to come. So please encourage your friends to come, because that will be the final opportunity that we have to get this to the student body. How many more?
I did a loose count. I think we need four more.
Four more? Oh man, all four of my friends are in this room.
Yeah, four more.
Four more,
We can do that. We can get four people.
right? Okay.
Um,
In the meantime, I'm gonna look up some fun facts for you.
I got a fun fact, this Constitution,
Who's
not here.
Who's missing that? was
Constitution
here?
fun facts, hold on. Let me bring up the document.
First of all, Western has its own facts page. If you didn't know that, just found that one.
The word assembly is in this document 246 times.
Just so you know, we have 7 more minutes of speaking time, and we'll probably use all 7. Yes, Alicia?
Can you use shall?
Shall. Oh, shall's a big one.
Oh, that's
commas. Can you look how many commas?
First of all, shall's only in there 122 times.
We did not use shall enough. Rewrite, complete rewrite.
There's
Right.
so many that's not gonna tell me how many commas are in it.
Infinite commas.
Oh, I'm sorry, 799.
Beautiful.
And last, before I made these amendments, the word count was exactly 15,100.
And now it's like
Probably
15,472.
15,200.
Great.
So anyone else got?
How about
friends?
comma and?
Comma ands, all right.
Commas and we're for short. That sounds.
Real quick, I'm going to take this time and say that if you have oral remarks that you'd like to make while we don't have quorum,
Please do take this mic.
469. Comma ands. Any other words?
Have we ever done this before? Like, I guess if we keep losing people, there's no way to actually keep track of.
I mean, we have more people.
I will make a deal with you all. If you all wait until 6 more minutes to leave, if we get quorum, I will make a. I have been told that my baking skills are pretty good. I'll bring cupcakes. We bring cupcakes. Love cupcakes. This is not bribery for anyone paying attention.
I got one.
Hey! Yay! 2 more. I think we're to 2 more. You've got one. Sweet. 1 more.
I don't have one right.
Hey, someone can you put the link in the Slack, somebody?
Yes. Can someone put the meeting link in the Slack for the legislators?
already got it. Thank you, James.
Beautiful.
Speaking of the people that watch our campus for us while we're all not getting mugged.
Right. All right, does anyone have any fun spring break plans they can shout out so we can all think we're in spring break right now?
What's happening with Lead Corps?
Ooh, so yeah, you got. Oh, out of Michigan. Right?
Anyone leaving the country?
I wish.
Here's my project.
Nice. I'm going to Indiana, so I can consider that another country.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, Tennessee.
I think you called it the country.
Yeah, I still don't know what a light switch is.
If
Anyone going anywhere fun on Zoom? We got any Zoom fun trips?
anyone working all spring break?
That's not fun. I am working. I'm working at spring break.
Oh man, you gotta get that money though. That's probably some pretty good money, right? Pull some hours.
Speaking of which, if anyone goes to, this is a bookstore and goes to the cafe and I'm working, can you tip me because I'm running low on money?
I love it. You work at this little bookstore?
Yeah.
He does. That's right. That's the second time I met him in person. I walked in. And
Definitely, I'll be doing something too.
The man, the myth, the legend.
He
I
does.
do.
Bookstore coffee place.
Right? Does anyone else have any fun plans for spring break?
I heard someone saying that they're going to Indiana.
Yeah, that's me.
Indiana. Yeehaw.
Why?
That's where my dogs are, man. Gotta go where the dogs are.
Y'all should be going to Texas, man. Like this is such a fun
man,
place.
I know that would be a really warm trip. I think some of us are going there for the delegation in a couple weeks.
No way.
Anyone want to see pictures of my cat?
Hold on just 1 second. Eric's got something he needs to say to me.
Last week, we discussed the room setup, and we said we'd reevaluate this week since we have time. What do you think of the current setup?
Yeah, I love it.
Do we like it, or do we want to move it back?
Move it back.
All in favor of moving it back, raise your hand.
I got you.
I'm a big fan of circles though.
All right, all in favor of keeping it, raise your hand.
Keeping it like this.
Yeah, keeping it like this. All right, keeping it like this wins. Thank you.
Whoever gave me the microphone should know that I use it for these purposes. Like, that's part of what I am. All right, people, we have 2 minutes. It's 120 seconds, which is like how long it takes me to eat every kind of ice cream. these
I have
days.
it already long.
One remark.
Yeah,
One remark.
go for it.
Go forward.
Go for it. Please take it away.
Does somebody have a mobile microphone we can hand off to people?
It's unknown where that's located.
Hi everyone, so just to inform you guys that the last allocations deliberation will be next month on March 20th. So just point out, if you want to apply for funding, please make sure you go to the workshop, which is on March 18th, and submit your budget proposal by March 23rd. Just to put it there. 22 is budget submission due, but for the deliberation will be on March 20th. So during the spring break, you guys can plan it out.
People just left.
Hey everyone, happy Western Wednesday. Just an update. RSVP form for dinner with delegates closes Friday, March 4th at 11:59 p.m. You can go to Experience WMU and RSVP. Thank you.
All right, we just lost it.
We lost 3 more people, so we're done.
All right, folks. No cupcakes.
Thank you guys for waiting and trying to stay for a little bit.
They just laughed.
I appreciate, first of all, I'd like to say, from those of us who wrote this constitution, thank you for sticking it out with us. We appreciate it. We spend a lot of time on this document, and your support and presence in doing this, means a whole lot to us. We will then, I guess, now see you at an emergency joint session the Wednesday after spring break. Since we passed this as an informal vote, I believe it'll be going up as its final formal vote, then to formally pass it, and send a very quick, email to the EPC asking for grace and forgiveness. Yes.
So because it passed by formal vote today, you have to be amendment for informal. Do you have to go over the whole document one?
No. We just need one vote to approve it all.
One vote to approve the whole thing.
If you don't go step by step, it won't be boring, no offense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So,
That's all done.
question to put it, number 1 on the agenda. Oh, we have form. Question or request. Pretty please. XOS go to Gossip Girl.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it will be number 1 on the agenda. I just need the speakers to declare an emergency joint session with me. So that hasn't been finalized yet.
I think we'll get that.
I think so too.
Yes, thank you so much for you guys being here. No tears yet. We have not given up hope. There will be a new WSA in the future. I'm confident and excited about it.
Really quick too, I just got a text message from Paul Terzino, director of the Bernhardt Center. If you have not voted on the quotes that are out in the lobby via your sticker, please do so. Those quotes will be going in the new student center, and we appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
Do they have form?
Where are we gonna stick it?
They're in like the little pouch. Also, EPC plug, the vice presidential debates are after this. If you want something a little bit more entertaining than this, that's what will be going on. It also requires some active participation in asking some tough questions, which is see both your candidates up there. And it'll be a lot of fun. I heard there's a group going out to hang out at Roadhouse afterwards. If you're the Roadhouse kind of person, so come to the debates and hang out with us.
Emergency joint session.
Yep. There, your speakers declared it. You're good. Set up the mic. Get it done. Sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry, I didn't listen.
Oh no, I was just saying thank you because we appreciate you guys all being here. I'll cry with ice cream later and we'll pick ourselves up and we'll be back to the next joint session.
All right, since we don't have quorum, we can't vote during the meeting, so it's just done at this point. Thank you all for coming.